So guys, hope you're all keeping well. It's a beautiful late autumn day here in Spain. It's 20 to 3 in the afternoon. We've got a couple of days of autumn left till the 21st of December is the first day of winter. And we've actually wound up for the Christmas break now. We were going to be working tomorrow, but we've finished what we're doing today. I've got home quite handy, so I thought I'd have a tinker about with the Royal Enfield Super Meteor. Yeah, adding extras. I'm in the process of ordering a few bits, and I've been looking at a DNA filter, but I'm not being a cheapskate here. I've seen a few reviews online where basically people are saying just take the snorkel off the filter that's already fitted, and you see a lot of people taking these filters out and they look like they're a complete unit in one piece. I've just had a look at it, and actually the section that fits with the 3 screws onto the bike itself is very similar to the DNA filter, because you've got the 3-pin bracket with the space that fits into the little notch that gets it all in position, and the snorkel on the outside actually does clip on. It looks as if it clips off, so we'll see how easy it is to take that off, just as an experiment really, to see if there is any difference in induction. I get the idea that the DNA filter is a once-in-a-lifetime filter. You can clean it and oil it and put it back in. But to be honest, the standard filter on the Super Meteor is that cheap, and each filter lasts 7,500 kilometers. So, you know, you're gonna need a fair few filters to justify the cost of a DNA filter and the height that's supposed to go with that DNA filter. Now, whether it does give you any extra horsepower or it's just the induction sound that you get remains to be seen. But this experiment that I'm going to do will probably iron out those queries that I have and let me know if it feels any different, getting more air into it, and whether the DNA filter breathes any different to the standard filter that's in the Super Meteor. So I'll stop it here and I'll move the camera. Right, so there's the filter out with the snorkel on it. The snorkel actually just clips on. It's clipped on a series of pegs that go around the side. So that's quite easy to remove the airflow snorkel that people are saying are reducing the airflow into the filter. And if you twist the end of the air filter, I'll twist it like that. Basically, that's the collar that holds the filter in place. It sits on a little pin there and lines up with the 3 holes at the back. So we'll put the filter out of the way. So it basically goes on like that. We've got this huge hole in the middle, breather hole, and we've got the filter that is very similar to the DNA filter in looks. Obviously, you've just got a round end. You've got a filter element on the side, which is paper and aluminium, like I said before. I can see my hand fairly clearly through it. I'm going to give it a blow through just to see what the airflow is like in it. And there's no, when you blow through the air filter as such, there's no sort of reduction in airflow going through there. So you don't have to blow hard to blow through it. So I would imagine as it gacks up and clogs up, but the same as any filter, once it clogs up, you're going to lose a bit of air quality going through. But looking through against the light and holding that to the light, I can see my fingers quite clearly through it. There's not much to stop any airflow through that. So I'm guessing if this goes back in with the snorkel on it, without the snorkel I should say, that's the snorkel section, it just clips on. It's not easy to take off, not hard to take off rather. I'm getting a bit confused there. So that just slots onto there. There's no rubber gasket holding it in place, it just fits on. So what I'm going to do now, just as a test, I'm going to put that back in, and I'm going to put the screws back in place, line the peg up to the pin there, and I'm going to let it run for 10 minutes, just as a bit of an experiment. I honestly can't see that amount of space causing any less airflow, unless there's something dramatically different with the filtration on the DNA filter, which is the filter part, that would increase the airflow through or allow a different type of airflow through. I don't know. Like I say, we'll put it back in, we'll get it ticking over for 10 minutes, and we'll see if there's any induction sound coming out the filter itself. So, right, we get the screws back in and line that pin up. It's pretty much going to be exactly the same as if you're changing the DNA filter for the existing. Screw in to start with. help if you had a Phillips screwdriver on the end of that. So we'll change that over. And this is just purely an experiment, because I've heard loads of people say, you know, okay, it is a bit of an upgrade getting a DNA filter, and it looks the part. Well, it doesn't look the part because you can't actually see it, but it's supposed to be the part that changes the bike. I'm not totally convinced, to be honest. If it had a remapping with it, it had to be done with a filter, I'd be more inclined to think it was doing something. I know it's self-mapping on these modern ECUs now. Right, I'm going to start it up and we'll see what happens. Guys, I'm going to leave that running for 10 minutes now, just to see if anything changes or any induction sounds different, but we'll let the ECU have a bit of a tick over for 10 minutes or so, and we'll come back to it. A rev test on it and let you listen to it, see if it sounds any different to what you think it sounded like before. But I'll start the bike up and I'll start it and give it a bit of a rev. So guys, yeah, there's a definite burble on the exhaust with the snorkel off. It's quite a nice popping sound out of it. Had a bit of a popping sound on deceleration before, but it's noticeably different with the snorkel off. So in conclusion, guys, I've taken the snorkel off, which is this part that I showed you in the video, and I wasn't expecting any change. I've just taken it for a 10-minute blast in the same helmet I normally wear to get a good idea of sound and how it sounds, if there's any difference. And to be honest, there's a notable difference in engine note. You can hear the induction noise a lot louder than it was before. The engine note's a lot louder, and the throttle response is a lot smoother, a lot crisper. And there's a note on my bike. There's a notable increase in power throughout the gear range, especially 4th, 5th and 6th. It's very, very smooth and very responsive. The only thing I can think why removing the small part makes a difference is I would basically put it down to sound emissions. And I think by putting the snorkel piece on, it reduces the induction noise and it reduces the engine exhaust note. And I think that's a factor in most bikes to pass regulations. If you look at the sticker on the bike, you'll see that there's a decibel rating, and if I read it to you, so it's got stationary noise test information, and this will be for European regulations to pass the ITV, which is a periodical test for your vehicle to check it's roadworthy. Of course, on new vehicles you don't have to have a test until it's 4 years old. Then in Spain it's every 2 years, so it gets to 10 years, and then it's every year after that. But I would imagine that by removing the snorkel or putting a DNA filter on, most of the test stations in Spain, especially with motorbikes, will do a decibel test. And I would imagine that, looking at the decibels on here, we've got a decibel rating of 87.8 decibels at 3,630 revs per minute. So that's a stationary noise test. So that'll be the test they're going to look at. If it's over the 87.8, when they do the test at the ITV station without this snorkel section on, which I'm convinced it would be, I'll do a test on my iPhone, a decibel test, see if there's any difference. And you've got an acceleration test, and the acceleration test is quite lenient, because what they've done an acceleration test in 3rd gear and in third gear at 42.9 kilometers, so 43 kilometers an hour in third gear. The decibel rating is 80.8 decibels, and certainly with this off and maybe with the DNA filter, you're going to go over that decibel rating. So I would say it's been put on for a purpose by Royal Enfield, purely to keep the decibel rating down for test and certificate. And I'm not convinced that putting the DNA filter on will have any difference to just removing this small item on the bike. There's a definite difference in induction noise. There's a much louder exhaust note on the bike. It's smoother on throttle response through the gears, and to my mind it's a lot quicker. 140 in fourth gear, not a problem at all. It flies. So in conclusion and wrapping this up, I would say this clip-on piece that you can take off quite easily and put back on quite easily is the culprit in keeping the induction noise down and keeping the exhaust note down and not letting as much airflow through the fuel system as it does once you remove this. So there's food for thoughts, guys. I mean, if you want to buy the DNA just because it's washable and you can wash it and re-oil it and put it back in, go for it. But I honestly can't see how the size of the hole in the air filter on the end and the element of the DNA filter is going to be that significantly different in breathing wise to the paper filter. And bearing in mind your filter's got to be in good condition. If it's cacked up, you're going to get obviously lack of airflow through there, but you're gonna notice that on fuel economy and the way the bike rides. So yeah, the jury's out really on this DNA filter. I think if you get the DNA filter in a few years time, when you come to put it in for the periodical inspection, vehicle inspection, you're going to need to take that out and put the old filter back in just to go through inspection. Likewise, if you do what I've done and take the snorkel off, you're going to have to put that back on to get it to pass the decibel test. But I will do a decibel test on my iPhone when I get a chance and see what the decibels are showing. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. My conclusion is that that is purely a sound reducing element for the bike to pass test, and the DNA filter without any mods or chipping, to my mind, I could be wrong, I haven't got a DNA filter to tell you any different, but there's a notable difference in performance and induction noise and exhaust note with just taking that off. So there we are, guys. We'll leave it there, wrap it up. Take care, thanks for watching, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and have a good Christmas and New Year if I don't make any more videos before then, and ride safe.